This is drag racing. More myths, half-truths, and distortions are believed about it than any other form of motorsport. Now only 20 years old, it may be the fastest-growing sport in the country. The drag racing world is populated by millions of fans and thousands of dedicated racers, from run-for-fun amateurs to tough professionals who take a handsome living from this multi-million-dollar industry. A short 20 years after its birth. This is drag racer Dick Landy, a professional whose roots reach back 16 years to a time when most people considered drag racing a crime instead of a sport. The National Hot Rod Association's Supernationals begins in 3 days, and Landy is getting ready. The mammoth drag racing industry provides Dick Landy with a substantial living, product endorsements, his speed shop, and safety performance clinics he conducts for his sponsors. But the cement that binds it all together is his ability to win.
You have to practice. You're only kidding yourself saying you don't. There are two things are being done. We're testing the car, we're trying a new combination to try and get that slight edge. And at the same time, every single time I leave the starting line, I concentrate on the Christmas tree to practice. Everybody has their own technique, but I think the thing you're practicing for the most is when does your car leave? My car may react a tenth of a second different than somebody else's. It may spin the tire slightly, the clutch may slip a little bit, something may happen before the car actually leaps out. This reaction time can be allowed for on the Christmas tree. This is where the practice comes in. You've got to practice and get the feel of your car and know how tight you can cut it and how far you can go.
The other thing I think is super important is that you press all the time. A lot of times you run a slower car and you don't press hard.
It's very easy to overextend myself in the position I'm in, traveling around the country and doing all the clinics. But I have enjoyed that very much, which overcomes a lot of the long hours.
Is it really true that you run stock suspension on all of your cars?
There isn't anything done to the car.
Still, I think probably the biggest reason they come in is they would like to get a true, honest answer from the person that says this product is good or that product's good.
8,000 RPM, and we just slide our foot off of it.
Yeah. What difference does the size of the torque converter make?
The difference in diameter of the converter, what difference does it make? It makes a difference in as much as there's less capacity. It can't hold on to as much because it's smaller. I think that every manufacturer in the field has something new that they're coming up with. These are some of the things that we used to have to do ourselves years ago, back in the 50s when I first started out drag racing. I had to race under, and the conditions you get to race under now are two different stories.
Run, run, whoa, run, run, do run, run, whoa, run, 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 run.
The starting systems we had then were a flag. We never knew what a paved pit was for 10 years. It was really grim. I never knew what it was to win $20 until 1960.
A four-speed dual quad, positive traction 409.
You didn't really enjoy yourself. You really had to have it in your blood to go out there and do it.
racing almost 20 years removed from the painful innocence of its childhood. Far from the street and into California's colossal Ontario Motor Speedway, everything has changed, but the sport itself, it remains a simple acceleration contest between two cars. Get to the end of the quarter-mile drag strip first, and you win. More than 450 entrants in 8 different classes of competition are here. The winners will split a total purse of $250,000.
It's just been phenomenal the way it has grown. I think most of it relates back to the manufacturers getting themselves involved. If somebody wasn't spending the money, we'd probably still be racing on the streets. As far as participation goes by the racers, it's invitation-only racing. So it'll be one of the most professional shows you'll see in drag racing. This is one to come and watch, one of the big ones.
Dozens of national record holders and national champions are competing. But everyone must qualify for a place in the starting field based on elapsed time. When the racing starts, these are the only credentials that count.
1705 Paul.
All right, here we go.
These are the top fuel dragsters, powered by 1,500 horsepower engines. They're lightweight spinners. They may cover this quarter mile in less than 7 seconds. These are blown and injected engines, running on a special blend of nitromethane and alcohol, mostly nitro. Moving towards the starting line, ladies and gentlemen, from 3,000 horsepower. About to be launched down the Ontario Motor Speedway quarter mile. Machines which have captured the imagination of race fans the country over.
The name Funny Car, well, sure, where that came from. The cars were quite funny looking. I think I was definitely the first person on the West Coast to drive one, and there was an awful lot of people driving cars that were similar to it, but they were not called funny cars. In 1965, we got the car into the 9-second bracket in over 140 miles an hour. That's, I believe, is how the funny car came about.
Coming up next will be Pro Stock. The Fords, the Chevrolets, the Plymouths, and the Dodges.
Landy's highly modified Dodge Challenger is a Pro Stock machine. Qualifying is a unique problem. He must cut his elapsed time for the quarter mile as low as possible, of hundreds of factors, in less than a minute of actual racing.
Our average at the big meets has been 990s. We're working very hard to find new combinations, get away from the old. We changed cams, exhaust, and intake manifolds all at once to try and gain another mile an hour.
You're showing up at a track you've never been to before in your life, and you're going to have about 4 runs to dial yourself into the track. You have to just do things in the dark, like feel around until you find the right combination.
Qualifying is over. Dick Landy will race for the money tomorrow from the 13th position in a starting field of 32 Pro Stockers. It's a disappointment, but a man who loves his work can keep it in perspective.
I'm very satisfied with what I'm doing, and I never look off the other side of the fence. I look off, but I never really say to myself, boy, I wish I was over there. I'm very, very happy with where I am.
On your back. Let's go. Get Buster. We're going slow. We haven't got communications with Dragster Staging yet. Darwin?
Yeah.
2 minutes till? Got everybody alerted. We're going to fire.
All right.
208 contestants qualified for the Supernationals. Now the cash and prestige attached to winning Ontario Motor Speedway's inaugural drag race are on the line. The 104 race first round of competition drags on over 2 hazy hours. The drivers stand idle, wiping the smog from their cars, thinking, waiting.
For me, the first round is usually the one that gets rid of all the nervousness that comes about. And I think it comes about because of the long wait. Before the first round, you'll sit around for 4 hours. A lot of things build up in your mind. You try and keep active and not let them bother you. But after the first round, that's gone.
Moving out of the staging lane, Pro Stock machines. These are the best, the quickest that Detroit can build. Now, moving out onto the pad, ladies and gentlemen, the Pro Stockers of Dick Landy, Sherman Oaks, California, up against Jim Baker, Anaheim, California. Baker driving a Chevrolet, Landy a Dodge. Landy now moving away, he wins it. Landy going away. The funny cars of Gene Snow and John Decker. Gene Snow into an immediate lead. Snow charges to the mid-range and takes the lead, going away.
All right, coming up next will be Pro Stock. The Fords, the Chevrolets, the Plymouth, and the Dodgers.
Dick Landy again faces elimination. The nervousness of round 1 is gone, but the intense desire and winning habits of a professional remain.
The thing that I'm concentrating on the most is, did I do my job correct? Are the tires hot enough? I'll concentrate very deeply on that. Double check the shoulder belts. Make sure the glove's on tight. I'll take my foot off the clutch and rub it on the carpet to make sure there's no water or anything on it so it doesn't slip off the clutch pedal. Make sure I have my cigar, and I'll pull it up and stage it.
Even Landy's lucky trademark, the giant unlit cigar clenched between his teeth, can't help him. His clutch shatters under the strain of a shift. For Dick Landy, the Supernationals is another piece of history.
It's done, it's finished. You want to know what happened and why. And if it's a question of reaction time, well, I guess I'd like to take my head and bang it against the wall if I was laid out of the hole. I just kind of like to be by myself for a while because there's always a bunch of people that'll come up and throw in there. At this point, it's nothing but 2 bits worth. And you don't want to hear it because it's all over.
Emotion is never in short supply at a drag race. Dejection and jubilation seem to flow endlessly from the same tap. In any motorsport, danger begins when you climb into the car. Sitting astride a volatile combination of exotic fuels, 1,500 horsepower, and 8,000 RPMs producing terminal speeds in excess of 210 miles per hour is not like watching from the stands. Yet overall, drag racing must be rated one of the safest motorsports for both participants and fans. Round 2 roars into round 3. Round 3 slides into round 4. Among the professionals, individual drivers blast through race after race, marching toward victory. Pro Stock driver Ronnie Sachs, who has dominated the class, keeps it going. He takes easy wins round after round and gets a red light victory in the semifinal from Dick Oldfield's Motown Missile. What Ronnie Socks is to the pro stockers, Gene Snow is becoming to the funny cars. Snow blasts through his opponents and into the final. In the fuel dragster class, Rick Ramsey and the California Charger, one of the longest long shots in the field, swiftly mows down the competition. An upset victory over Danny Ungaius puts Ramsey in the final. Perhaps some of drag racing's enormous appeal is related to its brutal simplicity. After hours of racing, it will come down to two men facing each other in a final showdown, like the gunfighters of 100 years ago. There are no ties, and finishing second really doesn't mean a thing. Thickening smog chokes the dying California sun. Noises, engines, and voices seem far away, muffled by the strain of hundreds of races. Only 6 cars, 2 in each of 3 classes, still have a chance to win it all. It's last call for the funny car final. Gene Snow's Rambunctious against Larry Arnold's Kingfish. Both cars suffered engine damage in the semifinals, and their crews have been fighting the clock to get them ready. Kingfish's engine fails in mid-run, and Rambunctious hangs on to win. Ronnie Socks and his Barracuda, a virtually unbeatable combination, face Arlen Venke and his Duster in the Pro Stock final. The Socks and Martin team makes magic again. Ronnie Socks wins by 7/100ths of a second. 2 Californians square off in the top fuel final. Seasoned veteran Jerry Glenn and the come-from-nowhere phenomenon Rick Ramsey. Ramsey roars across the line in 6.709 seconds, a clear-cut winner. Drag racing, 20 years after. Almost everything has changed. Almost everything.
The conditions I had to race under and the conditions you get to race under now are 2 different stories. You didn't really enjoy yourself. You really had to have it in your blood to go out there and do it.